Doug Wead is a presidential historian and also the author of Inside Trump's White House, and also a former advisor to President George H.W. Bush. He joins us now live to make sense of all of what's happening right now. Doug, it's always great to talk to you. As we know, the Trump campaign, they are asking for a recount in Wisconsin as well. Throw that on top of it, saying that poll watchers have been unable to monitor the ballot counting. Is there something illegal happening here, and would this argument hold water in court?
Well, that's the question, and I would trust the courts. To put it frankly, how can we trust the national media to report to us on voter fraud when they told us this wasn't going to be a close election to begin with?
Yeah.
And for 3 years, they've been telling us Donald Trump was a Russian spy. They still haven't apologized for that, nor returned their Pulitzer Prizes. They've ignored the biggest story of my lifetime, peace in the Middle East. So why should we now believe their fact checks as they scramble to create these websites that try to explain the charges of voter fraud? I just don't believe what they're saying. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and we know that the American public is smart enough to be skeptical of what they're told from these mainstream media outlets. But staying with the state of Wisconsin here, we're learning that voter turnout is also being called highly suspect. Some numbers out there are showing the state had close to 90% turnout this year. It's far and above what they've seen in years past. Have we ever seen 90% voter turnout in an election in any state before?
No. Now, they're giving a different version. They're saying that we're using the wrong numbers to divide to create this. But what I've found in studying these various websites, that they're all media websites. They're all promoted by Google and high tech and big tech, who keep any competing interpretations off of the internet, unavailable, completely censored. What I'm finding is they'll take a quote from Donald Trump Jr. that's 24 hours old, and they'll take some statement off of Facebook, and then they'll create a straw man and then a political fact check to say it isn't true. And they're doing that with some of these numbers, too, if your viewers research these stories. But as I said before, I'd rather trust the courts than them.
Yeah.
They've been lying to me for years.
Oh, yeah.
How can I believe this?
We've seen so much censorship from big tech, as you point out, so rightly so. Just sticking with those numbers, as you say, they're being disputed because, the state says they calculate voter turnout based on the total number of residents eligible to vote. But is that a normal way that these numbers are tabulated for a presidential election? Do we see that in any other states?
No, it's based on registered voters always, and all of the mailings that go out are based on registered voters. All of the polls that we saw are based on registered voters, and also they're not limited to registered voters. Most of the polls are based on likely voters, which is different from registered voters.
So does that make you question those numbers in Wisconsin anymore?
Oh, yes, I still question them, as I said. I think it ought to go to court. I would trust the courts, at least for now, more than I would national media, which has been lying to me and is shameless about it. They don't even hide it anymore.
We know the Trump campaign, they are taking it to court, as you're saying, but we also know that North Carolina is saying it won't announce official results until November 12th. Are you concerned about what's happening in that state, in between the time of now and when that announcement could be made?
Yes. What always concerns me about withheld ballots, when you hear a story like you just mentioned in North Carolina, or you'd hear on election night, Broward County has not yet released their vote totals, or in 1960 it was Cook County. Cook County in Chicago has not been able to release their vote totals. That's scary because in almost every occasion, they're withholding the votes to wait and see how many are needed to win the election. Then they'll announce the votes. They even did that in primaries, in the Republican and the Democrat primary, where Bernie Sanders was aced out. That's what they were doing, withholding the reports till they knew how many they needed.
Yeah, Doug.
That's scary.
Doug, really quick, does the president have a chance for reelection? Is he on the path?
He still has a chance as you and I are speaking right now,
Okay.
depending on how the courts decide and if the people will continue to have faith in him.
All right. Doug Wead taking the time, joining us live this morning. Doug, it's always a pleasure. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
I have to be very careful what I say because it'll get blocked. But this was written from a dissident in the Soviet Union in a concentration camp. He wrote, "When the truth is replaced by silence, that silence is a lie." I think you can figure out what I mean.